Have you ever looked at your partner and wondered if they were raised by a completely different species? Specifically, a species that thinks that leaving one square of toilet paper on the roll counts as replacing it. Today, we are diving deep into the actual behavioral science of why men and women approach relationships so differently, why we constantly hit the same emotional potholes, and how to fix them without throwing a wrench at each other. So buckle up as we look at the romance roadmap regarding navigation, potholes, and roadside repair in relationships. Welcome to the Due to Expire podcast. I'm your host, Corey Kennard. Now, let's grow. As always, before we get started, I want to let you know that this episode is presented by the No Negative Energy Life brand, a life coaching resource and media edutainment outlet that seeks to help human beings to consciously expose and diminish the impact of negative thoughts and ultimately replace them with positive ones that will increase one's ability to thrive. Check us out at nonegative.energy. That's no negative, all one phrase, .energy. Now let's start from the scope of Mars, Venus, and Earth. For decades, pop psychology told us that men and women are practically different species. We've been told that men are from Mars and women are from Venus. But relationship science, specifically 40 years of data by Dr. John Gottman's Love Lab, tells us something much simpler. We are all from Earth, but we speak slightly different dialects of the same language. When we look at what keeps couples together, it isn't grand cinematic romance. It's actually friendship. Data shows that 70% of relationship passion, relationship romance, and relationship sex for men stems from a deep foundation of friendship. And for women, that number is even higher. However, we do have unique neurological and behavioral tendencies that creates some hilarious and dangerous disconnects. Let's look at the dialect differences. The male default is the fix-it mode. Men largely are socialized and neurologically wired to treat problems like a leaking pipe. If a woman says, "I'm having a horrible day at work," a man's brain instantly opens a toolbox. Okay, here's what you need to do. Draft an email to HR, fire Dave, and start looking for a new job. The female default is the feel it mode. Women generally use communication as an emotional facilitator. When she says she's having a horrible day, she doesn't want an HR strategy, man. She wants empathy. She wants you to look at her and say, "Wow, that sounds incredibly stressful. Dave really is the worst." So here's the first golden rule. Men, when your partner comes to you with an issue, look at her and ask the magic question. Do you want me to listen, or do you want me to fix it? It will save you miles and miles of unnecessary detours. The second thing is this. We have to ask a question. How do we navigate around the potholes we see every single day in our relationships? Every relationship drives over potholes. But how do you handle the bumpy road determines if you will reach your destination or end up stranded on the shoulder. Science can predict with 94% accuracy whether a couple will stay together or get a divorce. It doesn't take a psychic. It takes looking for 4 specific behaviors that Dr. Gottman calls the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Let's look at them and see how these show up on the road. Horseman number 1, criticism. What does that sound like? Here's an example. You never take out the trash. You are so incredibly lazy. The scientific reality is that this is an attack on someone's character, not their behavior. Women are statistically more likely to initiate conflict with criticism. Horseman number 2, defensiveness. What does this sound like? Well, I wouldn't forget it if you didn't nag me 24/7. What is the scientific reality of this? This is effectively whining or cross-complaining. It's a way of saying, the problem isn't me, it's you. The third horseman, contempt. What does it sound like? Oh, you're tired? Please. I do everything around here while you sit around like a king. The scientific reality is that this is the absolute number 1 predictor of divorce. Sarcasm, eye-rolling, and mockery. It's criticism delivered from a position of moral superiority helps to destroy the connection in the relationship. And the 4th horseman is this, stonewalling. What does it sound like? It sounds like silence. It's that blank stare. Or it's just leaving the room entirely. The scientific reality is that this is tuning out and shutting down. 85% of stonewallers in heterosexual relationships are men. This leads to the physiology of the stonewall, which is what I want to talk about next. Why do men stonewall so much more than women? It's not because they don't care, because we as men, we do care. It's because we care too much biologically. When conflict gets intense, stay with me. Men experience physiological flooding much faster than women. A man's heart rate spikes past 100 beats per minute. Adrenaline surges and his nervous system enters a literal fight or flight mode. So if we look at this, when the heart rate climbs past 100 beats per minute, the brain then shuts down from logical thinking. And then the stonewall activates to prevent a meltdown. When a man stonewalls, he is trying to emotionally self-soothe so he doesn't explode. But to his female partner, his silence feels like abandonment, prompting her to push harder, which floods him further, and this becomes a vicious cycle. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to pause and ponder over what has been said thus far. And I'll be right back after this brief break. Okay, we're back. Let's jump right back into it. Next, I want to talk about how to generate roadside repair after hitting a pothole. So how do we fix a flat tire mid-argument? Master couples do it through something called repair attempts. A repair attempt is any statement or action, silly or serious, that prevents negativity from escalating out of control. It's the relationship equivalent of a pressure valve. How do we execute this? Well, number one, check the dashboard. This is what I call a pulse check. Recognize flooding. If your heart rate is hitting triple digits, stop talking. Shut up. Be quiet. You are biologically incapable of a good conversation when you are flooded. The second thing is to call a structural timeout. Minimum of 20 minutes. Say something like this: I'm feeling too overwhelmed right now to be a good listener. I need a 20-minute break, but I promise we will finish this. You must, my friends, give a definitive return time so your partner doesn't feel abandoned. The third thing is to have a soft launch reentry. When you return, after your 20 minutes, use a softened startup. Focus on I statements instead of you statements. Instead of "you ruined our weekend," try something like this: I'm feeling stressed out about our schedule and I need some help. And then the fourth thing is to accept influence. This is what is known as the magical shortcut. Men, this is heavily on us. Data shows that relationships succeed when men are willing to accept influence from their wives or partners. This doesn't mean saying, "Yes, dear," like a robot. It means finding a piece of what she's saying that you can agree with. You're right. I did say I would handle the trash, and I forgot. That's a great phrase to use to accept the fact that you were wrong and she was right. It's okay to be wrong. We try too hard to win a battle, and we end up losing the war. Remember, relationship satisfaction isn't about finding someone with zero flaws. In fact, research shows that 69% of relationship problems are perpetual. I know that that is alarming and surprising, but it simply means that some things will never go away because they are based on core personality differences. You will have problems in your relationship. You will argue about the thermostat, the in-laws, and the correct way to load a dishwasher until the day you die. That's okay. It's going to happen. Success isn't about eliminating those 69% of problems. It's about learning to laugh at them, keeping a magic ratio of 5 positive interactions for every 1 negative interaction during a fight, and knowing how to change the tire when you hit a pothole. Let me explain this a little more. The 5-to-1 ratio is one of the most famous findings. It states that for a relationship to remain stable and healthy, there must be at least 5 positive interactions for every negative interaction during a conflict. When couples are not fighting and just going about their daily lives, the the magic ratio actually jumps to 20 to 1. Now, think of your relationship like an emotional bank account. If you only deposit money or positives when things are perfect, a single massive withdrawal or a fight will put you in the red. Master couples keep their accounts so overfunded with tiny daily deposits that when a conflict happens, they don't go bankrupt. Here's what it looks like in practice. Contrasting a single negative interaction with 5 small positive course corrections. The withdrawal. The one negative interaction. Imagine a classic Tuesday evening pothole. We would call it the late arrival. One partner is sitting at a restaurant or at home waiting. The other partner walks in 25 minutes late because a work meeting ran over, completely forgetting to text. The negative spark? You are always late, and it's completely disrespectful of my time. This is criticism and defensiveness. Now, this is your one negative interaction that you get to have. It creates tension, emotional distance, and physiological stress. The deposits, or the 5 positive counterbalances, need to follow. To repair the damage and keep the relationship stable, you don't need to go out and buy a $500 watch or go on an extravagant vacation. The 5 to 1 ratio is built on micro deposits, small, intentional actions that show affection, validation, and emotional connection. Here are the 5 concrete ways to make those deposits throughout the rest of the evening and the next morning. Deposit number 1, the validating pivot. This happens during or right after the friction. Instead of doubling down on the argument all night, one partner actively lowers the temperature by acknowledging the other's reality. Here's what it looks like. I know you've been working late all week to hit that deadline, and you're exhausted. I was just really looking forward to eating together. Why does this work? Because it separates the frustrating behavior from the person's intent, showing you still see them as a teammate. Deposit number 2, the physical reconnection. Physical touch reduces cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and it signals safety to the nervous system. What does this deposit look like? Walking over while they are washing dishes, putting a hand on their lower back, giving a brief squeeze, and holding a hug for at least 6 seconds. Why does this work? You see, a 6-second hug is long enough to trigger the release of oxytocin. This is the bonding hormone, breaking the physiological freeze left over from an argument. Then there's deposit number 3. This is the low stakes, I see you micro favor. Anticipating a small practical need without being asked. What does this look like? Bringing them a cup of tea or a glass of water exactly the way they like it while they are catching up on their emails late at night and without making a big deal out of it. Why does this work? You see, this sends a silent, powerful message. that even though we were frustrated an hour ago, I am still tracking your comfort and I still care about you. Deposit number 4, I love this one. Shared humor. Using a lighthearted moment to break the lingering awkwardness. Now you have to be genuine about this. Don't just try to make up something. What does this look like? Well, sending a ridiculous meme later that night that references a joke from a trip you took 3 years ago, or laughing at how badly the dog is begging for food. Why does this work? Shared laughter is the fastest way to signal to both of your brains that the danger of the conflict has completely passed. And then there's deposit number 5. The next morning appreciation text. Explicitly calling out something they do well, completely unrelated to the fight. This is sending a text at 10 a.m. the next day, saying something like, "Hey, just wanted to say thank you for handling that crazy insurance call yesterday. You are so good at sorting through that messy stuff. And I really appreciate what you did. It took the weight off of my shoulders." Why does this work? Because it fills their emotional tank during the workday, ensuring that the last lingering taste of the previous night's argument is replaced by a sense of appreciation. So here's the takeaway. Notice that none of these 5 things require a massive amount of time, a massive amount of money, or emotional heavy lifting. The master couples don't avoid the one negative. They just become absolute pros at flooding the engine with the 5 positives. So remember this. Men and women often communicate from 2 entirely different blueprints. It's not about who is right. It's about understanding the core objective behind the words. Well, my friends, that's it for this episode. We are at the end, but hopefully it's the beginning of a wonderful relationship between you and your partner. Thank you for listening today. I'm your host, Corey Kennard.